The phrase critical minerals is a strategic or policy idea which essentially classifies certain minerals because of their essential nature to either a country's development needs or an industry's technological requirements, or for that matter, because of the geopolitics of trade competition. What this implies is that no mineral is universally critical. No mineral is permanently critical. For that matter, no mineral is naturally critical. In recent times, there has been a groundswell of minerals that are classified critical for several reasons. The first is that technologies necessary to migrate from carbon-intensive energy sources to clean energy sources has created a necessity for certain technologies that require minerals. The second is that the changing geopolitical structure in which some countries dominate supply of minerals have led to the requirements by others to secure supplies of certain minerals that they deem critical for their economies. On the other hand, certain minerals have become critical because of a growth in industries, typically the defense industry, but also the digital technologies. This collective has created a groundswell of demand for certain minerals, and therefore some countries have classified them critical to their own needs. In the geopolitical space, critical minerals have also distorted the way governments see themselves in the mineral policy space. Traditionally, especially in the industrialized world, governments have allowed companies to arbitrate the markets and compete in the knowledge that they can procure the minerals. However, in recent times, because of China's dominance, but also because China does not always separate trade and diplomacy, the EU, the US, and other countries have found themselves also getting involved more directly in mineral trade in order to counter China's dominance. On the other hand, Chinese dominance, quite apart from being seen to distort the balance of trade between that country and Europe and countries like Germany, that in certain minerals rely completely on China. Some people argue that the real challenge is not whether the United States and China are equal, but it is whether the country, from a security perspective, can afford to be reliant on one country for certain minerals. Not because that country might abuse that position, but because that country itself may, for whatever reason, be unable to supply. And that the importance of ensuring a balance in availability of a mineral supply is more for global security rather than for ensuring a balance of competition between any one jurisdiction. What we have also seen, because of this growth in demand for critical minerals, is that countries from the Gulf that previously were not major players in the market have certainly taken interest and invested significantly in mineral projects. A good example is the Saudis' investment in Vale and the Emirates' investment in copper in Zambia. These countries will change the geopolitical landscape of critical minerals and do so very quickly and effectively because, one, the Gulf region has very deep pockets, so they can acquire significant assets in a very short period of time. The second thing is that the Gulf region, their systems of government are not vulnerable to electoral politics. The result, which is that decisions are centralized and made very quickly. There again, it means that they can have a first move advantage. But more than that, the Gulf region, thanks to a long history in the petroleum sector, have the skills and the technology and the wherewithal to enter the mineral trade space very quickly. An interesting geopolitical phenomena is the position of Russia. Russia is very rich in both petroleum resources and mineral resources. Russia, for instance, produces one of the energy transition critical minerals, being nickel, in significant quantities. But Russia is absent in this debate because following the Ukraine war, Russia has been isolated. Russia is no longer in the G7. Russia has no voice in NATO. So this is a very interesting turn of events in which a country that, all things considered, should in fact be a big part of the critical mineral debate suddenly find itself outside. Africa, Latin America are another interesting phenomenon. These regions are well endowed in natural resources, including minerals. However, the lack of technology, the lack of finance, and the lack of infrastructure risks marginalizing these regions such that, just as in the last 100 years, in this second industrial revolution, these regions will remain not so much the center of industrialization, but the source of raw materials once again.